Greetings, YouTube. Today I'll be talking about the book The Witch Must Die by Sheldon Cashton. I don't have the book physically in my possession because I've already given it away to someone. In fact, it never left my company. I finished the book at work and I passed it on to someone at work. Now, I think the subtitle for this particular book could have also been 101 Mother Issues. I'm going to read a little blurb here. In The Witch Must Die, Sheldon Cashton explores how fairy tales help children deal with psychological conflicts by projecting their own internal struggles between good and evil onto the battles enacted by the characters in the stories. Now, I found a lot of the information quite interesting, particularly when he was talking about how, the kind of the Disney-fied version of a story, and then he'd go into the history of that Disney-fied version and the actual history and the variations of that story that could be found in different cultures. That aspect of the book was very good and I found quite engaging. I thought that the lens he looked at the entire topic through was a little odd, however, because he looked at it through the Judeo-Christian concept of the 7 deadly sins. Now, I have to tell you, I can't think of anyone in the last 100 years, as any child, that has grappled with their internal struggles in trying to reconcile how they feel about the world around them through that lens. Now, maybe it was very common in a different era when Christianity was taught in schools explicitly, as opposed to the way we do it now, which is implicitly or just by rogue teachers. But I found that very odd, and it was off-putting for me because I'm not Judeo-Christian, and I consider that the whole Abrahamic religious tradition to be wanting at almost every level as an ethical or moral compass. So I don't think it's going to be useful at all to children who are trying to struggle with internal conflicts and reconciling them with their life experiences and the world around them as they develop. So as a sampling of the fairy tales and how they've evolved and how they can be seen through a different light and from different cultures, I can recommend this book. How it can be used by children, how they are used by children, is something I don't think this author ever really touched on. I think that he had a political agenda to put forth that he twisted and shoved and did everything he could, put English on it, to get a round peg into a square hole. It, to my mind, didn't work all that well, or square peg into a round hole, however you want to look at that. It didn't work that well. I really don't think it did. It's particularly because I have seen how useful cognitive behavior therapy is. And this author seems to be a Freudian, which is a tradition of psychological research which I think is completely bereft of use at all. I think other than historical, I don't think it has any bearing on the real world. It never has. I think Freud was obsessed with things that have no bearing on real life, and he wasn't actually out to help people. I don't know what he was out to do, maybe just to prove that he was the smartest guy in the room. I'm not sure. Jung was better than Freud, but even Jung got it wrong. You need to give tools to people, which is what cognitive behavior therapy does. This book, and Freudian psychology in general, doesn't. So I think it fails at its goal. I still think it has a certain amount of interest for me academically, because I have an interest in fairy tales. But yeah, I cannot recommend this book as achieving the goal of its stated purpose. So there you have it. Maybe your experience is different. I think that, if I remember correctly, I actually looked at some of the Amazon reviews, and a lot of people seem to like this book. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's a whole lot of closet Freudians in the world. Maybe a whole lot of people really like the lens of the 7 deadly sins. I don't. I don't think it has any bearing on our modern lives. So there you have it. So read it with a massive grain of salt.